Proverbs are the soul of a language. Well, that's how I feel about it, but there's a problem. How do we learn Proverbs in a language when there are hundreds or thousands that we should eventually learn, especially if we want to get as good as native speakers? Knowledge is power, but if we have too many irons in the fire, how do we actually do it? But I think the early bird catches the worm. The sooner we actually start learning these proverbs in our target language, even as a beginner, the better. The more that we get acquainted with the language, could be a modern language, could be an ancient language. And speaking of the early bird catches the worm, here is a Latin proverb, hirundinen subeodem tecto ne habeas. Ooh, what does that mean? How would an ancient Roman have used that in context? Or another one from ancient Greek, mia kelidon ear upoie. But what do these mean, and how would we actually use them in conversation? Let's talk about that today. I'm Luke, and this is polýMATHY.
So this proverb, hirundinen subeoden tecto ne habeas, means don't take a swallow under your roof. But what does that mean exactly? Well, this is said of fair weather friends. Swallows may come to roost under the eaves of your house during the spring, but by winter, when times get tough, they'll abandon you. I'm imagining this is something that Octavian as a young man may have said to Cicero when Cicero came to him trying to get into his favor. Cicero tried to make friends with Caesar, Mark Antony, Octavian, and others, so I can imagine the clever Octavian Caesar saying to Cicero, hirundinem subeoden tecto ne habeas, as a way to warn him and admonish him about the meaning of loyalty. And for another proverb about swallows, mia kelidon earu poie, one swallow does not make a spring. Seeing swallows flit about over the grass in countries around the Mediterranean is a lovely sign of the coming spring. However, if you only see one, well, maybe it's a bit early to call it spring. You should have at least two. In the launch scene of Apollo 13, we see that the center of the 5 engines goes out during the launch. After running the numbers at Mission Control, they confirmed that the launch may proceed without aborting. Commander Jim Lovell then tells his crew happily,
"Looks like we just had our glitch for this mission."
If his crewmates had been prescient, they would have reminded him, mia kelidon earu poie. Maybe he shouldn't have counted his chickens before they hatched.
So what's the best strategy to actually learn Proverbs? There are hundreds and thousands, depending on our target language, even in an ancient language. Well, the best advice I can give is, number one, we really should. If we want to become an advanced, even an intermediate learner, we need to learn the Proverbs. But if we're just waiting to pick them up, in a modern language, we can do that. We can get by not necessarily understanding them, but we miss these wonderful subtle details. So I think, vale la pena, it's worthwhile to actually find a set of proverbs or axioms or maxims or any of those things, those idiomatic expressions, and to make a point to learn them and to try to use them as much as possible. And this is doubly true in an ancient language, because when an ancient author refers to one of these proverbs or these expressions and we don't know them, we don't get it, we just kind of gloss over it, and we don't recognize it, where we want to really understand how they felt, how they saw the world, and utilize their language in a way that was more authentic to how they felt. So that is exactly why over on Scorpio Martianus I've started a new series of proverbia, paroimiai, of proverbs, and both languages, of both Greek and Latin, because this is my way of trying to share them, because they're just so rich and they're fun and they're funny, or they tell you something about how the ancient Romans and how the ancient Greeks, how they felt, how they thought, how they expressed themselves. And it's such a great way to make the language come alive for us. Another proverb I like is senis mutare linguam, that you can't teach someone to change their language. You can't teach an older person a new language. And not because I believe in it, that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but because of the opposite. In fact, I prefer the ancient Greek proverb, gerasko dae pola didaskomenos. Well, the older I get, the more I learn. And that's thanks to Ancient Language Institute, where we teach you the foundation and we take you from there all the way to the top.
And speaking of the top, in addition to beginner and intermediate classes in Latin, Ancient Greek, Old English, and Biblical Hebrew, we have these advanced classes. Learn to compose in Latin, read Beowulf in Old English, and read Oedipus Rex by Sophocles in the original. But you'll have to sign up by April 18th. That's coming up soon to get your spot in one of of these classes. And also this summer from June 14th to 23rd is our Ancient Greek Immersion Plutarch Camp. There are only 30 spots available though, so make sure you get your seat in time. This will be held at the Winston-Salem campus of Wake Forest University in North Carolina. We're also thrilled to announce EKHO, the brand new app for listening to audiobooks in Ancient Greek and Old English, recited by yours truly for the Ancient Greek and Ancient Language Institute Old English program founder Colin Gorey, author of Oswald de Bera. Registration is also open for the Latin Teacher Summer Boot Camp. We offer different summer cohorts starting early June as well as early July. Remember to sign up for your next course in Latin, Ancient Greek, Hebrew, or Old English by this Saturday, April 18th.
So if you're ready to dive in, manibus pedibusque, gaentrenam poterais. There's no time like the present. Sign up at ancientlanguage.com.
So what is a proverb exactly? Well, a lot of the collections of Latin proverbia and Ancient Greek paroimiai are usually a mix of true proverbs, as well as idioms, aphorisms, maxims, adages, as well as a plethora of apothegms.
A what? A plethora
of apothegms. So what's the difference between these? Well, a lot of the definitions of these terms tend to overlap, but if we wanted to give them some order, we might use this scheme, based on the Wikipedia article on sayings, linked in the description. A saying is a short set of memorable words. An idiom is a short set of memorable words whose true meaning does not come from the literal interpretation. An aphorism is a short set of memorable words of wisdom. An apothegm is a short set of memorable words of wisdom that are witty and sometimes cynical. A maxim is a short set of memorable words of wisdom often related to morality or the sciences. An adage is a short set of memorable words of wisdom that are well known. And a proverb is a short set of memorable words of wisdom that are well known and often come from folklore or literature. So the differences between these are fairly subtle, can definitely overlap, and generally aren't distinguished in most collections. But whatever we might call them, they tend to reveal a lot about the people who use them, or once used them, and how they see or saw the world.
One proverb I really like, which I did over on Scopio Martianus, is a synonym of sus Minervam docet, the pig teaches Minerva. And another one that is synonymous is, in Greek, it's delphina nekestai didaskes. You're teaching the dolphin how to swim, and there's a Latin equivalent, which is delphinum natare doces. Irene, how would you say that in Italian? Is there something similar that comes close?
Forse rubare a casa dei ladri,
Ah, rubare a casa dei ladri.
ma se c'è qualche italiano nei commenti può dirci se c'è un altro proverbio.
Infatti. But I really like that because to steal from the house of thieves is similar in the sense that you're trying to do something better than someone who's an expert, or you're trying to do something that an expert would totally beat you at. But it's not exactly the same. It reminds me of another Greek one, which is allopekisten pros heteran allopeka, which is to play the fox to the fox, like to try to outfox a fox. And that's similar. It's the same kind of idea, but each one of these proverbs takes us into the mind of the native speakers. And so this is why I just think that proverbs are the soul of a language. You can really get to know something about the society. And we can do that with modern societies as similar as Italian society is to the other modern European societies, like Anglophone society. They still have those different kinds of ideas and associations. And in ancient society, where these people used to live, they thought and felt about things yet differently than we do. So being able to enter into the mindset of whatever your target language and culture is, it's very important. It all goes together.
All right, so we've established that learning proverbs in our target language is worthwhile. So how do we do that when there are hundreds or more? Well, it's possible to learn them in context, such as while listening to native speakers or reading ancient texts. Most of the time, we don't recognize that they are proverbs or idioms, taking them at face value. More than that, native speakers tend to intuitively simplify their speech with foreign interlocutors, and by reducing abstraction, avoid saying proverbial expressions. And if we're dependent on reading an ancient language to learn these sayings, they may not occur frequently enough for us to recognize their expressive power, making them seem less important than they really are. That means we're going to have to take the bull by the horns, as they say, or in ancient Greek, hemi nautois balaneusomen. We shall be our own bathmen. That is, get our own towel without depending on someone else to get it for us. Here's my prescription if you want to seriously acquire a good number of adages and proverbs. First, I think it's a good idea to commit to learning one proverb per week for a year, and that'll be 52 in a year, which is a good start. Then find a source of proverbs in your target language, maybe a book, or in the case of Latin and ancient Greek, check out my series of proverbia and polýMATHY on Scorpio Martianus. Then choose any proverb you like, week by week. Then you should analyze and understand the plain meaning of all the words in the saying. Make sure you understand the meaning of the proverb itself, and then know what kinds of contexts the proverb may be used in. And then it's time for the creative part. Imagine multiple situations, at least two, in which you might use the proverb, and write them down, ideally entirely in the target language. Little scenes or short paragraphs that create the contextual environment that makes uttering the adage logical. Then memorize the proverb by heart. Write the proverb on a sticky note and put it on your desk or hang it on the wall or the mirror, or write it down in a commonplace notebook that you open frequently to remind yourself. And then the best part, use the proverb at every possible occasion that it makes sense to do so while talking with other people in your target language to the point of annoyance. And what if you don't have anyone to talk to, as frequently happens when starting to learn an ancient language? Well, tell other people in your life about the proverb and what it means, and a plethora of other information.
What is a plethora?
I know that I, Jefe, do not have your superior intellect and education.
They'll admire you for it. At the very least, say it aloud any time a situation occurs where it makes sense, whether at a scene playing out on the screen or in real life, even if no one hears you. And here I'd just like to add how much fun it is to learn polýMATHY, proverbia, these adages and sayings in the target language. I can speak from experience. I absolutely love it. It's always fun and enjoyable, and you have to kind of think about it and play with it, and then getting the chance to actually use them, that is absolutely a joyous experience. At least it is for me. If you already love your target language, you're going to love this too, because proverbs are the soul of a language.
So what kind of proverbs are in your language? Explain them below. We'd love to hear about them. Thanks again to the Ancient Language Institute, and thanks to each and every one of my Patreon supporters. Valete ex foro Traiani herroste. And that's del pino. Get inside. You're so cute. That'll be fine. I'll cut it together. So if you're ready to divide,